Welcome to part 2. For those that watched part 1 and now starting part 2, thank you for sticking with me. Nice to know that we've got a small but captive audience, and to be honest, you'd have to be held captive to listen to me rambling on. Rain last night but no rain today. Suits me. Right, going back to dinner breaks. You were given a undisturbed dinner break. You didn't get paid for that, you just undisturbed, so they couldn't touch you. However, they used to put out GBs, general broadcasts, of a particular issue, problem that had started, that had appeared, and they were basically tugging at your heartstrings saying, you know, we've got a problem here. I know that you're on your break, but any chance that you could pop along and sort this out? And 99 times out of 100 would say, yeah, no problem. So that then became a disturbed break, and you got your break time back. But in some situations you went job to job to job, and at the end of the day you never even had a break. Nature of the job, I guess, that's how it happened. But that wore a bit thin after a while. But you could also have your break and go disturbable, which meant that in the event of a job going down, they would call you up straight away and you'd deal with it, and you would get paid for that disturbed break. You'd also get paid for having a break out of your area. I think it was about £5. Not a lot, but £5 is £5. And we were out of area many times. So we used to electronically put our hours down on the shift sheet on your computer at home, put down disturbed break, knowing that we were going to get an extra £5. When it came to the end of the shift, and I've been racking my brains, we used to have this system where if you were miles away from home, you had to travel back. They basically put you out of service, so you couldn't be given a job even though you were still an ambulance. You weren't a live ambulance, you were on your way back to base. And that was nice. They introduced that towards the latter end of my career. Just can't think of the name of it. If I think of the name, I'll just pop it up on the screen. Probably make my mind a little bit easier. So that was just how the shift went. Sometimes you had a good shift, sometimes you had some good jobs, but other times you got a bad shift, you were late off, you were what we call hammered. Right from the start, right to the finish, just hammered. And you went home absolutely on your knees. You were so tired. But that was the nature of the job, and it was something that you got used to. It wasn't until you actually left and you looked back and thought, how on earth did I manage that? Oof. So what about ambulance myths? What people have said in the papers, and you're just basically like, that is an absolute fallacy. You're just making this up. And they'll pass it on to Mavis or Maureen, and then Mavis and Maureen will go on Facebook and tell everybody what happened, and it's basically a pack of lies. So let's try and break this down into individual slices of untruths. It doesn't seem right doing Tales from the Riverbank unless you're actually at the riverbank. What a really nice day. Dropped on my feet here. In fact, after seeing this mud, I might well drop on my face. Let me see if I can get past here. Ah! Edmund Hillary, eat your heart out. Right, so myths. If you see an ambulance go flying past you, feel free to wave, and it's on blues and twos, blue lights, two-tone sirens. But then shortly after it passes you, everything gets turned off. It's not because they have abused their exemptions, put on the blue lights just to get through traffic, maybe get home quicker. That's simply not true. What it is they've either been stood down from the job that they were on the way to, or they've been reallocated a lower priority job, in which case blue lights and sirens are not required. And while we're on sirens, do you know why there's two different tones? The long ooh, can't do an ambulance tone, tried my best. I did an Irish accent once, that seemed to go alright. But the long, slow, wavy one is for distance. That's to say that there's an ambulance coming. The really high-pitched, I've been followed again. The really high-pitched wah 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 means that the ambulance is right on top of you, and that sound goes sideways from the ambulance, whereas the first one goes forwards from the ambulance. Something to do with sound dynamics. I don't know, I just pressed the button. The Mercedes version of the ambulances had some fantastic sirens. The Fiats that are out now, awful, horrible. Sounds like a Chad Valley toy. Anyway, I digress. So they've been given another job. Not all ambulance crew, not drivers, are paramedics. When I was starting out to when I finished, I was always called a paramedic. Never been a paramedic. I was a senior emergency medical technician, one below a paramedic. In this trust, there are different levels in different trusts which share the same name but are perhaps higher than I was or lower than I was, depending what region you were in. So have a look on the epaulets, that will tell you their grade. But you should find that when the crew enter the building and speak to you, they will introduce themselves and tell them their grade, which is nice. What happens when you call an ambulance? What should you do? What we as ambulance crew would like? How can you earn gold stars? I'll let you know. Give the correct information to the dispatcher. Don't tell any fibs. You'll get found out. If you've got an unusual address, which could potentially be like a new address, brand new build, which could potentially be a delay in an ambulance getting there, come out to meet the ambulance. People who used to wave frantically, we used to call them windmillers. But if we see you and we're lost, we appreciate it. Some people windmilled in the bus station and you think, it's only a small bus station, I know exactly where you are. But they're enthusiastic, like to see that. So when we get inside, the information that we require is what's happened, how the patient has reacted. Is the patient still in the same position? What have you done, if anything, to make them comfortable? If they were outside, thrown blankets on them. Any witnesses? The police might be on scene, or the police might be on the way and they require witnesses. We need to know the patient's details. If you're in their property, you're a relative, we need to know their details. NHS number if you've got it, which is very, very helpful. Any medications that they might be on, any allergies they might have, any recent history which could attribute to the incident that's just happened. That's very helpful. What we don't like butting in, answering questions for the patient. We're asking the patient, not you. So know when to keep quiet and know when to speak up. So if I'm talking to the patient, I don't want a parrot on my shoulder, that kind of thing. If it's a pretty traumatic one, and I mean life-threatening, and you are an emotional person, you are, by the very nature of being emotional, crying, screaming, a hindrance, and you'll be asked to leave the room, maybe encouraged to leave the room. If you're quite level-headed and calm, there's a good chance you might be given a job, passing things over, preparing a route out of the house, moving pictures off the wall, vases from the stairs, clearing your car off the drive, anything that will help us get out of the building and on the road to the hospital as fast as possible. So level-headed, you'll be given a job. Emotional or crying, you'll be ushered out as professionally as possible. What else? Now, you know that in recent videos I told you that I got attacked, and I was attacked by somebody who was drunk. But all the time we hear, oh, it's the Pakistanis, oh, it's the Poles, oh, it's the migrants, it's the Afghans. It's not. You would be surprised who treats you with the utmost respect and who treats you like an utter dog. And I've mentioned this on previous videos. Middle class people I've been spoken to like I was some kind of servant, spoken down to. Yet I've been to homeless people and people who are drink dependent, regular drug users, and they've been so polite because we've been there to help them. We don't just turn up at your house to be a punch bag or a spittoon. We're there because you requested us, because you needed help. So it's not a race or a culture of society that's predominant in being unkind. It's a wide variety of people from a wide variety of society that's been unkind. Be kind. The kindest people I've ever met, Nepalese. Such a lovely, wonderful race of people. I've met 4 Nepalese families over the years. Absolutely extraordinary amount of kindness. I'd like to say thank you in Nepalese, but I've no idea, not a clue. Road traffic collisions, RTCs, those people that find it surprising that they've had a crash because they just checked the phone for a few seconds. Yep, you're an idiot. You'll always be an idiot. Put your phone down, concentrate on your driving, don't hurt anyone. Every RTC that I went to in this region, might be different in other regions, the police turned up and breathalyzed you. Man, woman, child, they breathalyzed you. Be aware, if you've had a little drink, you'll get caught. When an ambulance turns up at your door, a lot of people think they'll know everything. No. They'll know enough to keep you going, enough to keep you alive, enough to stabilise you. but you have to go to hospital to get fixed. If you're suffering with a long-term condition, when an ambulance turns up, you're the expert. You have this condition, you know how it works, how it affects you. You instantly know what medications you have to take and what regime to take them medications. So by talking about your condition and your medications to the ambulance staff, they will learn more, but they'll never know as much as you do. Oh, the Americans are out. Mental health, mentioned this before, very, very difficult subject. I've seen too many people who suffer with mental health. Horrible. But almost everyone did appreciate somebody listening to them. We never had all the answers. We never had all the pathways to the correct treatment or care. There wasn't enough money spent on mental health services. But like I've just mentioned, good gracious, almost every sufferer of mental health that I met did appreciate listening, an ear, just to listen to what they had to say. And like I said, not necessarily fix them, but just listen. Give them time to express themselves. Talk about the frustrations, about the dark periods. I'll get back to it. It's just too noisy. A couple more pearls of wisdom. When an ambulance arrives at your house, even if you're an avid smoker, please get rid of it. Dock it out, naked flame, that kind of thing, because the crews will be carrying oxygen, and when oxygen goes bang, there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of crying, and people have poorly bits on them. So put your cigarettes out, and then when the crew's left, you can spark up and enjoy your fag again. And another one, pets. Take your pets out of the room, lock them away somewhere safe. They might not like it, they might be the friendliest dog or cat in the world, but we can't have them sniffing around the clinical items and the equipment that we carry. It's not conducive to good hygiene. So no smoking and no dog slobber or cat saliva. Just missed that. Dog deposit. Some well-behaved, non-well-behaved dog owner. They're out there. I'll try and think of some others. One of the favourite phrases that we hear in the ambulance service, RTB, return to base. Oh, that meant your shift was over. However, I remember one night coming back from Kings Lynn, we were passing Wiz Beach. We'd been on the road 14 hours and we heard a shout for a cardiac arrest. Now we could have attended, but if anything went wrong, we'd have been in proper trouble, just through fatigue. So we had to keep on driving. I always think to myself, could we have done anything? But there was another resource on its way anyway. What else? Lost my train of thought. Should I look on my phone to give myself a bit of a prompt? Yeah, This went well in rehearsals. Not today. Started watching the deer. There we go. Ah yes, Google. Google doctors. How many times have we turned up at houses only to be told, well, I think it's this, well, I think it's that. Well, what has brought you to that conclusion, sir or madam? Well, I've just been on Google. Oh, don't say ambulance drivers, and don't ever say Google. No, not at all. Be safe, be kind, don't say Google. Little old ladies, another phrase, nan down instead of man down. The strongest people known to man, little old ladies. Treat them with kindness, treat them with kid gloves, because if you step out of line with a little old lady, you will suffer immensely. One lash off her tongue, you'll be a weeping mess in the corner. Little old ladies, my favourite. Back in the day. I think I'll wrap it up there. Like I mentioned, I was 4 days short of 10 years in the service. I didn't enjoy every single shift. Some shifts were just so hard. But the amount of joy and pride I got from looking after people, bringing people back from the brink of death. Just something as simple as sitting with somebody who's lonely, making them a cup of tea and a sandwich, spending half an hour with them just to break the monotony of the day because they're widowed. People who suffer with mental health, PTSD. I know a couple of people, YouTubers, who suffer with PTSD. Horrible. If they need to sit and talk to somebody to settle themselves down, listen. Be kind. If you're out for a walk, say hello. You'll not get an answer back from everybody. People are different. But just set a standard where you're going to be kind. The ambulance service is on its knees. It really needs a government who cares. The hospital's on its knees. COVID has been horrible for everybody, the entire planet. Be kind. If you ever want to get a job in the NHS, nursing, doctors, ambulance service, anything like that, you will see a side of life that ordinary working class people will never see. The darkest of the dark, but the brightest of the bright. You will see joy, that first baby being born, and you will see sadness when somebody slips away, perhaps 100 years old, 100 years of experience in a lifetime. And if you join the ambulance service, you get to drive an ambulance really fast. Yeah. Wave to an ambulance. If you see them in the shop, say thank you. You don't need to buy them a coffee, but that's nice. You don't need to buy them a sandwich, that's also nice. Cake, 20 gold stars instantly for cake. Same with the police, same with fire. I go to my local cafe, and if we've got plain clothes come in for a cuppa, I'll get them in. I've no issue with buying a couple of emergency service workers a coffee. Least I can do. I had it done to me and I enjoyed it. Right, that's enough blurb. Look after yourself, look after your family, stay safe. 2 jabs, 1 booster, pick an arm, be kind, and goodbye.